Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Life is cheap in India. We have seen that time and time again. On Tuesday, Elias Kazmi, a prominent ad film director, was hit, dragged, and then left to die by a minor, a 16-year-old who was driving an expensive SUV. As we speak, Elias is fighting for his life in a Jammu hospital. What had Mr. Kazmi done? Merely confront the 16-year-old after his scooty was hit by this minor's SUV. What is even more shocking is the fact that he was left to die by the minor. And when he was, there is a certain degree of decency that you should display. If you see someone who's been hit by a car, what's the first thing you do? Do you speed away or do you stop and take the person to hospital? This 16-year-old didn't bother. He simply fled because he probably thought that his cop father, his policeman father, would save him. His influence would shield him. What is even more shocking is the fact that there were passerbys, there were bystanders. No one came to help him. So here is a man who is lying on the road, bleeding, and there is no one, absolutely no one, who bothers to take him to hospital. Mr. Kazmi gets to the hospital only after a passerby takes his phone, sees the last dialed number, dials it. It happens to be that of a friend in Jammu. It's only when the friend comes to the spot does the friend take him to hospital. Doesn't stop there. The institutional failure doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. Elias Kazmi is first taken to a private hospital that refuses to admit him. Why? This is an argument you hear very often. Because it's an accident case, it's a police case, that he should be taken to a government hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, this is against the law. No one, no hospital can turn away a patient, especially an accident patient, just because it's going to be a police case. It's illegal. Time was lost. Elias Kazmi was finally admitted to a hospital, a government hospital. He's on ICU. He continues to fight for his life. The accused, as I said, is the son of a police officer. He's been now arrested and sent to a juvenile home. Elias's family now wants the cop suspended because, after all, it is the father's responsibility to ensure that his child doesn't act irresponsibly. Also, another question that needs to be asked at this point of time is it time to try minors at adults when a crime as heinous as this one is committed? If they are confident enough to drive at the age of 16, something that is illegal in this country, knowing all the risks, then they should face the music for it. Dr. Rohit Baluja is president at the Institute of Road Traffic Education. Joining us on the broadcast, Minty Tejpal is a film writer, a journalist, and a friend of Elias as well. Minty Tejpal, I want to start with you and ask you how Elias Kazmi is doing right now.
Well, the news is not good. He's still in the ICU, and they can't shift him out of Jammu until his parameters stabilize. It's been a horrific accident, and it's not just the accident. If you look closely at the CCTV footage, which is just horrific to watch, this juvenile first bangs into Elias. The accident happens, and when Elias goes to talk to him, he drives away. So it's not just an accident. The accident happened, and after that, he willingly drags Elias for almost half a kilometer, according to news reports. That's insane. And the real fault, as you pointed out in your monologue, which is absolutely crisp, life is cheap in India, unfortunately. But the real blame lies at the parents' doorstep who allowed a juvenile to go out with such a heavy car. That's a murder weapon on the roads. It's unbelievable. And the fact that his father happens to be a DSP, a policeman. Are you kidding me? We are a bunch of friends in Bombay who have worked closely. I've known Elias for 30 years. He's an amazing guy. There are people across the advertising and television world today who are enraged at what has happened, at one of the most helpful, amazing people I know. So I don't know what to say. I hope the juvenile is brought completely to justice. And and I have covered these crimes since my journalism days back in the 80s. you know. And you're right, the laws are frightful. People are scared to help accident victims. I've been the victim of an accident many years, which is why I have a cracked skull. So I'm very aware of all these facts, you know. So it's just amazing. And watching the CCTV footage, it's grueling. It's crazy. And a lot of this blame must lie at the doorstep of social media here. With all this, bravery and jingoism and hooliganism being portrayed and encouraged, and it's insane. What is this culture we're developing here? Where are the parents
Minty,
who will tell their children you cannot be
Mintu,
driving a car like this? It's insane. And he's a cop, he's a policeman. Sorry.
Minty, is your outrage just restricted to what happened, but also what happened after that? Because to me, every aspect of what we saw since the accident is worrying.
Yeah, you're right.
The fact that a 16-year-old thinks it's perfectly okay for him to speed away when you know that the person you have hit needs to be taken to hospital. That you just drag him, with a vehicle like that, you just drag him and then you leave him to die, right? So that's a worrying aspect. What are parents teaching their kids?
Thank God for
these are basic values that every parent and grandparent will try and give a kid. Secondly, you have bystanders there, just by the way. This is a busy road and no one bothers to take Elias to hospital. No one, absolutely no one bothers to take him to hospital. When he's taken to hospital, finally a private hospital turns him away. Hum nahi lenge case, accident ka case hai. So, what we have seen of the story, it's worrying and troublesome at multiple levels, not just one.
I agree. Yes, it's just gut-wrenching, horrific stuff. It's unbelievable. And everything you've said is accurate. All these problems. And I actually don't blame the bystanders because, I think we are a nation of cowards now. There's not much bravery I see around in this country except on these fake cricket matches. I don't see much bravery in this country, and I've been covering and observing this country for 30 years now. I've been covering cases like this since the 90s. So I don't blame the bystanders because the laws are so confusing. They are worried they'll get into trouble. So let's start with the perpetrator, the guy, the 16-year-old juvenile who's out with a tar on the roads, on the highways. So he has an accident, and again, it's not an accident. I refuse to call this an accident. It's like culpable homicide. I'm not a lawyer, but that's what it sounds like. The accident happened. Then Elias comes to talk to him and he drives away. So he willingly tries to kill him. That's the only interpretation. The accident has already happened. And thank God that my buddy, my friend Elias was wearing a helmet. Or he would not even be fighting for his life in the ICU, I'm afraid. He's wearing a helmet and that's what possibly saves him. Imagine being dragged for half a kilometer on a metallic road. Jesus H. Christ. What are we talking about here? And he's the cop's son, yeah. And the CCTV footage, that's why we have the culprit. If the CCTV footage wasn't there, it's a safe bet. He would have escaped. Somebody else would have been driving, some driver. We've seen these incidents before. We've seen them in Mumbai. So, we all know.
And we've not just seen these incidents, accidents, hit and run cases. We've also seen that perpetrators get away fairly easily. Dr. Baluja,
yes.
Is there no fear of the law as far as a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old is concerned who decides it's perfectly okay to take the key of an SUV and go driving? Clearly, there is no fear of the law, because if there was fear of the law, the parents wouldn't have allowed this child to do what he did, and the child would have known better. It's a 16-year-old, he would have known better. Did he think that he would get away because of his age or because of the influence his father wields?
I think the first big problem is that we take road accidents as accidents. Now, these are not accidents, these are murders. For example, let's look at Delhi. About 1,200 people are killed in the city every year. 40% are hit and run cases. And today, people believe that they can run away. That's number one. Number two is that the investigation of cases is so rudimentary. We treat them as accident cases. The investigating officers are very less informed about the legislation. Now today, for example, we have in the Motor Vehicles Act a clear definition that the responsibility also is of the person who owns the vehicle, the person who gives the vehicle to you. Now he or she should actually be booked right away for this homicide, and they should be shown, they should be arrested. The juvenile, of course, will go by the law, but the people who are giving their vehicles to the children and do not report the accidents in time are equally responsible. Now, here you see in this video which I saw is that there is racing of speed. Now, there are laws in the Motor Vehicle Act which need to be brought along with the Indian Penal Code, which generally our police officers don't do it. And when just hit and run goes to the court, it only goes through the compensation rather than punishment. So today it is important that the provisions of the Motor Vehicle Act, each one of them should be added and applied. For example, we have a section 132, 133, 134, penal section 187 of the Motor Vehicles Act, which talks about the responsibility of the person who owns the vehicle, the responsibility of the vehicle, of the person who has given you the vehicle, the responsibility of the doctor who has to attend to these cases. And so today we need to make sure that all of these people, the hospital which refused, the parent who did not inform the person, the parent who did not bring his child, had to wait for the camera to tell us. Now, all these people are equally responsible to be booked, not only booked, to be arrested. Now, unless we do these, people will just go on, hit and run, and then they will keep themselves absconding, and finally they will create evidence which is cannot be corroborated with it, and then the courts will drag on for the years to come and nothing will happen. So today, right away, these cases should be taken as murders. All the people who are responsible, who give away their vehicles, who caused it to be done, the hospitals who doesn't do it, and the police officers also should be booked who do not write the case in a proper manner.
Okay, I think Dr. Baluja and Minty Tejpal are making the point that many people are making.
People who belong, right.
It is a shame that, you both of you are making a very important point here. You're saying the problem is that we treat accidents as accidents, non-serious crimes, when an accident actually is a murder. If someone dies in that accident, it's a murder. But that is not how the law treats it. By the end of it, the perpetrator will get away with paying a compensation. That's how things have worked so far in this country, and that needs to change. Minty, I have 20 seconds, but go ahead. I'll give you the last one.
I just want to agree with Dr. Baluja. This is a murder. A big vehicle like this at speed is more dangerous than a knife. I could stab somebody with a knife twice. He still might survive. You hit somebody with a car like this at speed. My God, we are human bodies. We are flesh and bones. This is like culpable homicide. This is not an accident. The vehicle has stopped. And then it speeds off. Just look at the footage. I'm sorry, but this is unbelievable. He needs to be brought to justice. And his parents too. I agree with Dr. Baluja.
It is unbelievable.
His parents too.
In Maharashtra, the law is clear. If a minor is caught driving a vehicle, the parents are held responsible. And that minor is not given a license till he or she is 25. And that is something that I think this country needs to implement as well. That stop treating accidents as some minor crimes. They are not. There are statistics that are scary enough that tell us that out of these are murders, and out of 1,200 people who die on the roads in Delhi every year, 40% are hit and runs. This is what Dr. Baluja has just told us. So treat deaths that happen because of accidents and murders. Maybe that is what will put the fear of God in people who drive irresponsibly. We leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. Here's hoping that Elias will recover, will be okay. We'll keep track of the story. Thank you very much, Minty Tejpal, for joining us. Dr. Baluja, it was good to have you and your perspective on the show as well. With that, it's a wrap from me. Thank you everyone very much for watching. Up next is my colleague Nivedana, who is joining you with all the day's big headlines at the top of 9. Do stay with us.